Welcome back to the Minnesota winters. There's been a lot going on in the first 18 days that we've been here in Ecuador, and I'd like to have an opportunity to share with you just a little bit about the process of finding what we expect will be our permanent housing. So when we first arrived, Katie had thankfully arranged for a 1 week Airbnb for us to stay in. And that apartment was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and it was more than adequate for us. But frankly, there were some discomforts in it and the location wasn't ideal, so we knew we were going to be looking for something different. What we didn't expect is that the process would draw out quite as long as it did. As it turns out, there's some aspects of the contracts with apartments in Quito and in Ecuador in general that were different from the United States, and they made us a bit uncomfortable. For example, the damage deposit that's typically given here in Ecuador is 2 full months in addition to the first month's rent when you sign a lease agreement. And we were told that the warranty, the damage deposit on that 2 months' rent would not be refunded unless we stopped paying early on our lease. And we just weren't comfortable with that, even though that's the way things are done here in Ecuador. So as we looked at houses, we looked at a number of them and even thought that we had found one at one point, but the landlords backed out on us. And everything just felt uneasy for us. Where there was an apartment that I liked, Katie and the kids didn't like it. Or where there was one that the kids liked, Katie and I didn't like it. And we had a list of different things that we were looking for, sort of non-negotiables that we wanted to make sure we had in any apartment that we found. We wanted to make sure we had outdoor space. We needed good security in the home. We had identified a couple of neighborhoods that we were most interested in living in, and so those were the ones that we were identifying and searching for. We were using a website called Plusvalia, which is a real estate website for buying real estate and for renting real estate in Ecuador. And there were plenty of options, but none of them seemed to really hit the mark. At one point, we actually had over a dozen homes that we were looking at renting, and Katie produced a spreadsheet for us so that we could keep track of all of the details, the locations, the features, the contact information. And we slowly went through them, touring them one by one and communicating with landlords and real estate agents, but still nothing seemed like it was fitting. So we were about a week in when we were 24 hours away from having no place to stay. We had already extended our 1 week Airbnb by 24 hours, which was the max that we could. And we were pretty desperate. We went to church on Sunday morning that week and we asked for some prayer and we had arranged some showings and we felt pretty good about what we were going to see, but things just weren't coming together. And we were trying to really have our faith in what God was doing here and the process that we were following, but we were feeling pretty challenged by it. So Katie went back online and she went to Airbnb actually. She started sort of looking under every rock and turning over every stone, as it were, and changing her search criteria. And eventually she found an apartment in a building right near a park that we really love. And that apartment was available for several weeks. And so we booked it for 10 days, thinking that we would at least buy some time. As she continued searching, she discovered that the same landlord had a second apartment in the very same building, but 1 floor up. And in fact, the second apartment on the second floor overlooks the park, has a little bit better safety as a result of being 1 floor up. It has a really nice terrace outside, and it had some other features that we thought we would be really interested in. So we started communicating with the landlord via his manager here in Ecuador, and ultimately we were pretty successful because we were able to stay in the first apartment for about a week. And then we even moved earlier than we expected into the second apartment. Right now, as I record this, we're actually already moved into the second apartment up on the second floor. We have a beautiful view of the park. And while the furnishings aren't exactly what we would choose if we had all of the choices to make ourselves, it's much more than adequate. We have a 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom apartment, and there's some good facilities on site. There's a nice wall and gate that keeps the facility safe. And as I said, we really love the Parque Suecia, which is just down the hill from us. Levi and I have enjoyed doing some bird watching. We enjoy walking through the park. And just on the far side of the park, there's a taxi cooperative and also a grocery store that reminds us a lot of the local Lenz Family Foods in Stillwater, Minnesota. So this feels like home. It feels wonderful. It feels exactly like what we're looking for.